think it was a very important question that you asked, which was, we're talking all about ego. We're talking all about material indulgences, creature comforts. And aren't we supposed to, I think one of the guys asked, aren't we supposed to enjoy? You walk past the store and you see a delightful food. If you have the means, we're supposed to enjoy all of God's pleasures. They're all here in the world to celebrate. We make a blessing, take it. And in fact, we have a chazal that tells us that if we go past a store that is emanating from the store, a delightful smell of smoked bacon, or crabfish, and we say, that would be delightful. Don't say, ugh. Don't say, yuck, who would want to eat those crabs? Or that cheesy hamburger with dripping out the smell. Ugh. Say, no, it's good, I would love it, but the Torah says not to eat it. But one second, how does that jive with this concept that we're supposed to disengage from the material world? We talked about the pas b'melech tochel, eat bread with salt and water, with a pitcher and sleep on the floor. That's the pathway to Torah, deprivation. We constantly seem to be hearing these conflicting messages. Is this world good or is this world not good? Are we supposed to enjoy the world, make a blessing, celebrate, l'chaim everybody? Or are we supposed to say, stay away. I don't want. I don't need. There are a couple of angles that I think it's important to look at this, but I'll share with you one basic thought, which I think is an underlying premise through which we can understand this. I heard this mashal, this story. I think it's based on a story that the Chafetz Chaim said over, but we're going to upgrade it, modernize it, and give it over in contemporary form. This story was now moved from the 1920s to the 1970s, 1980s. In America, at the time, in the 80s, it was the beginning of what we call the Star Wars project, but in the Reagan years, they had actually developed the next frontier in the Cold War, which was basically a satellite missile technology and protection, a shield around America based on, in the sky, satellites with armaments that can actually shoot down any incoming intercontinental ballistic missiles. And that way we're protected and we can zap our enemy. And there was a lot of excitement and froth generated around this project. President Reagan earmarked at the time billions and billions of dollars to the project. It was a top secret project, understandably. It was like the Manhattan Project during the war when they were developing the nuclear weapons. They brought together a team of top flight scientists, physicists, and computer analysts. And like in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they have the, when they worked on the nuclear project, everything was top secret. It was like a little building. They had a nondescript building in Dayton, Ohio, they were working out of. Nobody dreamt that over there they were planning this project that was going to be absolutely the next frontier of America's superpower, the superpower's advantage, super advantage. They invited to this project from New York. They invited, of course, from across North America, but in New York they invited a professor in Columbia University. He was a computer scientist, and he was one of the top most advanced at the time in computers. I don't know his name, but he was a very heavy guy, really like a heavy guy. It's actually very obese. A very sweet man. I don't know, had some diabetes, whatever it was a big guy. The people in his class used to laugh about him, but he was a brilliant. They knew he was a brilliant. He was a computer geek if there ever was one. And then there was a physicist who also taught at NYU, and he had a very innovative lab over there. And they invited him, also a very sweet man, nice man. And what they do is that they call up the university or the place of work of anybody who's invited to the project, and the government tells them, I'm sorry, you don't have your guy for the next, we don't know how long. And they call up the fellow. It was a very big privilege to be called on board for this top secret project, and you paid nicely. But you were told right before. So they told them the week before, because it's top secret, they told them on Thursday, Monday morning you're going to check into Dayton, you're going to be staying in this hotel, suite, whatever, we've got a place for you, and you're going to be staying there. How long? This is, you're working for national security. You're not told how long, we don't know, but, you're working on a very, very important project that's critical to the country's security, and both of them were excited to join the project. The problem was, it was Thursday when they were told Thursday morning. Monday morning they had to be there. And there was only one flight out from those days from LaGuardia to Dayton on Sunday morning. So they both obviously booked tickets on the flight. The NYU professor, he was, emptied out his apartment he had there in the Lower East Side in Greenwich Village. He had an apartment there. And he didn't know how long you're going to be there. He was a single bachelor, an older guy. He took from his apartment, I don't know, his tablecloths, his silverware, his books, He had in those days an old, a hi-fi, Wi-Fi kind of radio thing that he loved for his 78 LPs. And one night he took it. Comes to the airport, he figures, I'll pay extra for the freight, but I got, this is all my stuff. He comes to the airport. In those days, you had to take your stuff all the way to the plane, and he gets the porter. The porter brings everything behind him. He comes to the desk, and he's waiting there at the desk. There's a nice woman behind the desk, and she sees him, and he puts his ticket on the desk. Travel agent gave him a booking ticket, and she says, "Sir, I see you're on the flight, and we're looking forward to accommodating you, but I've got to tell you that these boxes are not going on the flight." He says, "What do you mean?" Sunday afternoon. Tomorrow morning I'm starting a new job. Can't tell you what it's about, but I got to be there in Dayton tomorrow. I need all my boxes. This is all my stuff. What do you mean? I'll pay. And he takes out of his wallet. In those days it was a Barclay card, a card from the bank, like the early credit cards. And he puts it on the desk, and he says, I need to get on the flight. She looks at him. She doesn't know how to explain. She says, "There's no way I could take all these suitcases. It's just not happening." He says, "Listen, I'll pay whatever it takes. You just, you got to do it." She walks out from behind the desk, and she leads him to the window right behind the desk. There's a little window there. You're looking out on the tarmac, and she shows him the plane. It was like a 16-seater little propeller plane that was going to Dayton. She said, "Sir, there's no room. You don't understand. You should have read the fine print. All we allow is a very small suitcase with these dimensions and a little hand luggage. You can take one item on board. You put it on your lap. There's no room." He's very disappointed. Like the flight is leaving soon, and he's all worked up. He's in knots. But what's he going to do? He's got to be there tomorrow morning. That's it. This is the most important project of his life. He doesn't know what to do. Yeah, he starts telling the porter, "You know what? Here, take it. This is my address. You know what? If you get it to my cousin's house, if you can take care of it, I'll send you money in the mail." He goes on the plane, and he realizes there's a good chance he ain't going to see any more his Wi-Fi, hi-fi, gramophone, whatever it was. He's no longer going to see his tablecloths. But you know what? What can he do? It is what it is. A few minutes later, a couple more passengers had boarded, and then this guy comes from Columbia, this big professor, this huge 500-pound guy, and he waddles up to the desk. and he's holding his luggage and his stuff, and he says to the lady, he says, I'm on this flight. And she looks at him, she blanches, she goes, why? And he says, okay, I know the deal. I've been through this before, I'll buy 2 seats. And he puts his American Express card on the desk. He says, no, okay, I got to buy another seat. She says, no, sir. I'd love to help you, but I don't think I can help you. You're not going on this flight. He says, what do you mean? I got to be on this flight. I got to be in Dayton tonight, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. It's critical. I can't explain to you, but this is really, really, really important. I got to be there. She says, sir, I don't know how to tell you this. Come. She takes him behind the desk and she shows him the plane. The door to the plane is only 18 inches wide. It's a tiny little plane. She says, you're not fitting on this plane. You can't get on the plane. You're not fitting in the door. He could scream. He could cry. He could pay all the money in the world, but he ain't going on. It's the word. Mashgiach said over this story, a little bit different, but he said, Chafetz Chaim used this concept to explain something very important. He said, after 120, we're going to transition into the next world. What's the next world? The righteous are sitting, tzaddikim yoshvim, they have halos on their heads, deriving intense pleasure and bliss from being close to the divine source, angelic in nature. Ah! Imagine going like this all day, all night, all day, all night, eternity. But this is intimacy with the divine. This is the greatest, because we are so materialistic and physical. We think, I hope there's a good Coca-Cola machine up there. I hope they serve good pizza and, whatever, with crispy, nice toppings. I have all my ideas of what it is that I'd like them to have up there, but in truth it's something entirely, entirely different. We know one thing: the more indulgent we are, the more we delight and excite ourselves with abandon, the more this is my identity. I can drive a Lexus, and I can have the nice things in life. The difference is, I should enjoy it all. Is it me, watch, and my Ray-Ban sunglasses? Is this like the image, the persona, this is who I am? Get me? Hey! Or it's all dispensable. It's here today, gone tomorrow. I can easily detach. For great tzaddikim, Rabbi Chaim Vital writes, Moshe Chaim Luzzatto writes that moving into the next world is like just taking off a cloak. It's like you're wearing a cloak. It's a description of how Aaron HaKohen, when he was buried on Har Har Har, and he left this world to the next, and Moshe Rabbeinu saw his departure. It was a misas neshika. We call it a misa of neshika. What is a misa of the kiss of death? There's the kiss of life, where God blows into us his breath, his essence, the soul. Whew. We actually get that kiss of life with every breath. We just don't feel it. The kiss of life. It's a kiss. And then for great tzaddikim, there's what we call the kiss of death, because there's such a close connectivity. There's such purity. There's such a real person that Hashem just takes the soul and scoops it up, and it goes back. It's integrated naturally into the heavenly throne, from where it came from. The Gemara tells us that for tzaddikim, for righteous people, the soul leaving the body is like taking a hair out of a glass of milk. For people who are enmeshed in the material, their ego, all kinds of stuff, it's like taking a pin out of a haystack. A pumpkin out of a haystack, a needle out of a haystack. Not easy. It's all mixed in. It's so hard to find it. See, the guy that thinks that this is all me, this is my flesh, this is my body, then we can't transition. There's no way we can get into the next world. It's a different world. It's up there. It's much higher. It's a different plane. So if all our heroes are celebrities and pin-up artists and soccer stars, and this is, who we aspire to be, or the great tycoons of the industry, we want to be a tycoon. And this is what we aspire to be, because what we aspire to be, as we said yesterday, is who we are. It's very hard to transition into the next world. We've got to go through a lot of scouring and a lot of detoxing and reprocessing to burn out all the scabs and stains and nonsense. That all has to disengage and unshackle. We're stuck in the body, in the zone of the body. The soul wants to soar, but it's so hard it can't soar because it's locked into the grip of its identity, of all the things that we think are so important that define us. There's a big difference when we engage this world with the right approach, with the right mindset. It's not me, it's me serving you. It's great, I'm making a blessing. It's a whole different world. It doesn't define us, it's not my end goal. It's true, I indulge. We're all human. We all like good things. For some people it's nice houses, for some people it's nice art, for some people it's nice clothes, for some all is all end all. On the contrary, it's your world, Hashem. I'm privileged to live in your world. Unfortunately, for most people, God lives somewhere on the edge of the radar screen in their world. But our purpose is to say, no, this is your world, God. And it's true, I like these things, but you know what? I can leave it behind. It's much more important that I'm there in the next world. It's stuff. In America, we have a concept. We never had this kind of affluence and material plenty in any generation. It's unprecedented, at least for what we know. But today, you have every conceivable. You walk into Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm telling you, even walk into a regular store. I was doing it with my kids at the supper table a week ago. I said, let's go into Evergreen and see how many things do we really need? What do we really need? And I was advocating that about 2% of the store is our necessities. We were getting into a little bit of a discussion. They didn't like my assessment, but I really think it's about 2%. What do we need? What do we need? I always tell the kids, they're saying they want a bicycle, they want to go here, they're going to, fine, okay, but don't tell me you need it, you want it. So they always come to me with this one, I want. Please, can I have, because I want. Don't tell me you need it. Because we don't need it. We want it. Okay, at least let's acknowledge it's not a necessity. But I need to go on that glamour vacation. I need to have at the wedding this entertainer, and this videographer, and these flowers, and this. My parents got married in the backyard of a shul with some homemade food, and they were very happy. So what is it what we need? What is it what we want? When we have that clear, it's true we want it, but it's not necessity. We can disengage. In America, there's a phenomenon because people are so empty and their identities are so propped up by externalities. We've lost self-appreciation and connectivity. Grandeur of man, self-respect, real self-respect is so lost. We're judged with such an arbitrary set of empty values based on superficial money, looks, externalities, that there's such an empty, a gaping void. People feel they need to buy stuff. You know, when you go out to the mall and you just buy and you rationalize, you know, you got a good deal. It was in Best Buy and it was like 30% off with an extra $50 coupon. So they come home with this 40-inch screen, plasma, DVD, Blu-ray screen, whatever it is, and trucking it out of the 4x4 Durango Jeep. They feel really good, you know, like this looks like, you know, get out of my way. Nice comfy chairs, you know, inside. They're all just taken care of. There's a temporary massage to the emptiness that lies within. And slowly but surely the house gets filled with stuff. My wife has this, she enjoys this. It's hard for me because I like to live free and clean, but my wife can't resist. This is an enjoyment in the summer. You go around the fancy neighborhoods in Scarsdale and all these houses, and they're moving, you know, older people moving down to Florida, and they have a garage sale. You cannot imagine how much stuff people accumulate. And they're selling it for pennies on the dollar. They're just happy to get this, you know, you're coming with kids. Oh, Howard, take these toys, take these books, you know. And the car comes back packed with stuff. But it's a phenomenon. We never had in any generation so much plenty and so much unhappiness. We talked about it yesterday because it's all artificial. Deep down we know it's just not real. It's not who I really am supposed to be. I'm just propping myself up, ditching the Joneses next door because I got the Escalade. I got a nice BMW, but it doesn't mean anything. I know it's empty, and I know deep down I ain't going to take with to the next world not even a pair of socks. There was a fellow here, a very, very rich guy in Manhattan, and I had a friend who had some relationship with him. I don't know how, what, where, when, but the guy passed on, and they were emptying out his Fifth Avenue apartment, swanky, or Central Park West, I don't know where it was. And they asked someone from the yeshiva, please come. They didn't know what to do with all the clothes. So, I don't remember, this was a number of years ago, someone went down with the yeshiva van. They didn't bring back all his clothes, because that was an impossibility, but they filled the van with a good part of his wardrobe. Suits, everything, like the best suits and shoes. I mean, like you'd think, like a man, how in the world does one guy have 80 to 100 suits? Bathrobes, cufflinks, pants, all kinds of fancy tie clips. The guy's had a field day. Shirts, hand-tailored shirts and shirts and shirts and shirts and ties and ties and ties and ties. I was just thinking, this guy is now nothing, left with nothing. It's a very sobering thought. But, you know, you could have a few suits and be so delighted and be so real and be giving and sharing. Because what we take with to the next world is who we really are. Not who we'd like to be perceived as dapper, handsome, with it, cutting edge. Such a sick world. The new age. We were talking yesterday, the old and the new. V'achaltem, the bracha of the Torah is V'achaltem yashan noishan. You're going to eat the really old stuff. V'yashan mipnei chodesh tetzir. You're just forced to let out of the old because the new come on the scene. V'yashan mipnei chodesh tetzir. You're just going to have to take it out because you got the fresh produce. We've got nowhere to put it. And we talked about how the real people understand that the old is beautiful. It's great. We live in a world where everything old is discarded. Anything that's a little old right away. Oh, we need new, fresh, young, progressive. The young are venerated. The young don't have that much to give us. Anyway, so that is a very general idea, a very simple idea that, yeah, we are here to enjoy this world and celebrate life and feel his blessings and let it trickle down. We take, the Gemara tells us, Beis Shammai saw anything that was good and he put it aside for Shabbos. There's a mindset, there's a concept there. That means we're here to enjoy that good stuff, that good food. It's there for Shabbos. Hillel mida acheres haisabay. The Gemara says, remember we once spoke about this a few weeks ago. Hillel, he had a different approach. Anything good that he saw, he said, don't worry, God is going to send me for Shabbos. I'm going to enjoy it now because he brought Shabbos into the week. And everything was Shabbos. It's all good. Now, I know that I'm talking a little bit on a platitudes. And in the world of reality, and we like to let go a little bit. We like to uncork a little bit. Sometimes we do live a little bit with abandon. But when these are our core values, that affects everything we do. And it gives us a greater access to the world to come. Rabbi Rucham was a great mashgiach in Eastern Europe, in the Mir, and he used to say, anybody who comes into my Musa Shmuz, I can't promise them that they will stay religious, but one thing I can tell you, that after they heard my Shmuz, they are not going to, in Yiddish there's a word, they're not going to geschmackvazach over here. They're not going to live with abandon. After the Second World War, there was a large religious or Jewish community in South Africa that was traditional, very well to do still today. Very beautiful, blossoming community there for many years under difficult conditions. In the 60s, there was a collector of the Mir that went to South Africa, and he heard about a Jew that had learnt in the Mir in Eastern Europe. He was not religious. Immediately through the war, he came to South Africa and became very wealthy, became a tycoon. He lived out in Transvaal, someplace, in a beautiful home. And he said, listen, he learnt in the Mir, I'm going to go and solicit him. They said, no, he gives to Israel, he gives to UJ, he's not giving to yeshivas. He said, listen, he learnt in the Mir, I'm going to try, I've got to go. He went to this fellow's house, and he managed to somehow or other get in. 2 dogs, the security, big fence around with a Rolls Royce in the driveway, described the house. He came in, the fellow spoke to him in Yiddish, didn't wear a yarmulke, and the fellow spoke to him, in the Mir. Sure, come on in. He welcomed him into his dining room. He was very gentlemanly. He spoke to him, gave him a nice donation. Can't judge anybody who went through the Second World War. So I want to tell you something. He said, you see, I'm living here, this is a palatial home. I have everything that I could dream of. But I want you to know that every time I drive out on Shabbos in my Rolls Royce with my chauffeur to the movies, I hear Rabbi Rucham. I hear him in my ears. There's a little buzz beneath the surface. I can't really live it up because I know the truth. That's a big blessing. that's a great blessing, because what identifies us is when we enjoy, when we live with abandon. The worst thing is, we've said before, the words of the Siporno, very famous words. Moshe came down the mountain. God tells him in heaven, Lech Reid, go down. You don't belong here anymore. Your people have sinned. They're dancing around a golden calf. And Moshe leaves God. He takes with the 2 tablets of stone, the 2 luchos, and he comes down the mountain. He greets Yehoshua at the bottom of the mountain, and he's listening to the noise. He's trying to ascertain, what kind of noise is this? And he comes close, and he sees the people. He sees the tupim and the mecholas. He sees there's a whole musical instruments, a whole band, a whole orchestra, and they're dancing with abandon around the mountain. And he takes the luchos, he took the stones, and vayishabrem tachasah, he broke them underneath the mountain. And the Sipporno says, why did he have to break them then? Didn't he believe when God told him, your people have sinned, go down? You don't belong here. He felt it. He understood he was no longer supposed to be in heaven. Why did he take with the 2 tablets of stone? What's he taking them with him for? Leave them there. Drop them there. The answer is, he didn't know yet how the Jewish people were worshipping the golden calf. It could be they were worshipping the golden calf. They're feeling so bad. Moshe didn't come. We don't have a leader. Oh, we need something. Okay, we'll take this golden calf. And we know, really stinks. But I've got these pangs of Jewish conscience. My guilt is like, okay, they're shuffling around a little bit around the calf, Then there's hope. Then they could return, because it didn't become a part of them. But when he saw the music and he saw them dancing with such excitement, joy, and abandon, then he took the luchas and he broke them. Because that means it's them. It's part of their flesh now. And they can't return back, says the Siporno, to their original state as they were ready and prepared for the luchas orishaimus. So, when we are plagued with Jewish guilt, when we do when we engage in the material world, if we could just have a little thought beforehand and say, Hashem, I know this is tantalizing my senses, this is enjoyable, but really I want it to feel and bring me to a closer connection to you. That's the whole concept of why we make a blessing before anything that is delightful. Why we take the material and we elevate it. We mekadesh it. We use it to bring us closer to Hashem. That's the whole purpose of it all. And if we just know that that's our objective, I'm not speaking on any holy, lofty, high, holy roller stuff that we should be, like when we're drinking that Coca-Cola, we're drinking that, we're having that glass of beer, we're supposed to be thinking, oh God, I just want you, shahakol niya bidvaro. We're humans. But at least this is what we strive for. This is what we want. We don't want to become physical animal creatures that impulsively need to indulge every whim and fancy. We're in control. We want to be in control. We want to have a little bit of a higher thought process. Ladas ba'aretz takecha, so that as we go through this world, ladas means to connect. It's all a pathway to you, because we're all en route to the final destination, and we all want to get off at the last stop of the train and be able to transition gracefully and delightfully into the eternally blissful world to come. Good Shabbos, everybody. Okay, now, tomorrow there is no shiur. It's an off Shabbos. I won't be here for Shabbos, I can't invite you. But I'm looking forward to seeing you again. In Yetz Hashem, come Monday. All together. Ish echad b'lev echad, as we take the final ascent up the mountain to Har Sinai. Next week we're going to be talking about Shavuos, guys. It's very beautiful. And we'll prepare for the big day. best as we can.